Hey everybody, welcome to Go for Green Living Homestead. My name's Daniel, and today I want to talk about off-grid water. It's a topic that's not talked about too much, but it's very important for somebody that's looking to go off-grid. That has a goal to go off-grid. Meaning a well, a spring, a stream, a river, a lake, some way of getting water for you and your family, so that you can have water. Now, you can use different methods, and I'm not going into these methods, of pressure from a stream, you know, uh, creating a ram so that you can pump water up to somewhere and something like that. I'm not talking about this, and I'm talking about the solar aspect of off-grid water, so that it's something that I happen to be an expert on, so I'm going to share with y'all. And I personally have a well. Now, there are several ways that you can pump water, with solar power. You can get a 12 volt pump, 24 volt pump, 110 volt pump, or a 240 volt pump. Now, the higher voltage you go, the more efficient that it is, the less energy you're going to use to pump that water. So 240 naturally is the optimum way you would like to do it. But now that requires an inverter and more power, battery bank, and sunlight. Unlike what we're getting today. Today is very overcast, and it's been that way for quite some time. It's been overcast. Solar power has suffered. Normally, I can run an air conditioner. I can do, run water all the time. Do all this kind of stuff. But when it's overcast, especially for more than 3 days, it's when I have to conserve. I have to conserve on timing. I have to wait till my charge controller, is producing enough, the sun's out enough, or for me to turn on my well pump. My charge controller has to say over 2.8, and it's a 24 volt system, so that's 28 volts. So I have to have 28 volts to run my well. Now, it doesn't have to stay at 28 volts. That's the initial surge that it takes to kick off my well pump. And everybody knows that's where you're going to use your most electricity, is in the initial surge, the initial kick right there. So that's why mine is, it's close to 28 volts to get my well kick started. So, but my well is 240, of course, and it's a big pump, so it pumps a lot of water really quick. I'm taking it down now, but I had a really big greenhouse, and so I needed a lot of water really quick, living on solar, so I didn't need to waste time. And plus watering, you want a bigger pump, because to water a 100-foot greenhouse, you're looking at, for me to do it with the pump I had and the solar system I had, it may be 20 minutes. With a smaller pump, or 12 volt pump or 110 pump, you're looking at hour and a half, to water the same size area. So we're getting a little sprinkle right now. It's just a little tiny cloud. It should pass. So anyway, my solar system will run my well pump when the sun is out. Now, I have a small solar system, and actually running 2 battery banks, and we'll get into that in another video of this. I've come up with something. Actually, y'all are going to be really excited about that. It's, me, always doing something new. But anyway, I regress. So this getting off-grid water. I mean, first, I have a well. I don't have a spring or anything like that. But if you have a spring and it's down on the lower part of your land or something like that, you're still going to need to pump it. And you're going to need solar panels and batteries and stuff like that. Depending on the distance is the size pump you're gonna need. Now, and this is going to take power. And and a solar system if you want to do it that way. Of course, you can get a generator. I have a generator, and it's a backup generator. But 99.9% of the time, all I do is if I have an emergency, I need water, I'll crank up the generator and plug it up. And I'll show you, I have it wired in directly to my well, so that whenever I need water, I just crank up the generator. My generator's actually broke down right now. This little valve, you see this little valve right here, it just snapped off. You know, that's the quality of Harbor Freight products. But you know, for us homesteaders, you know, we have to cut corners wherever we can, and just running a generator for a well, you know, it doesn't take much gas or you know. So anyway, so if you wanted to get water out of a stream or something like that using a pump, you can go to, I've seen tons of videos on this about ram pumps and hydraulic ram pumps, and that all work by water pressure, which is really cool. I can't do that. I don't have any means of, I don't have a stream close enough. If I had a stream, I would have unlimited power all the time. I wouldn't fool around with it. I would just have unlimited power all the time. And if you have a stream, you need to have unlimited power all the time, because that is the most efficient, is water generated power, because it's 24/7. With off-gridness, water is the most important thing that you have to be concerned about. I mean, you can go off and carry your water onto your land, and believe me, I've done that before. I have people that come by here and pick up water from me, which, you know, I don't care. That's my whole mission, is to help as many people as I can. Now, by far, the cheapest way you can go to pump water from a well, a stream, or anything would be just by having a solar panel and whatever voltage that solar panel is, size pump. Because whenever the sun's out, you can pump water. So if you've got a 12-volt solar panel, get a 12-volt pump, just set it up there. Whenever the sun's out, you can pump water. That's by far the cheapest solar way to do it. Now, to get it at night, put a couple of batteries there, create a battery bank, and there you go. You got nighttime well power, or nighttime water also. Now, I have a small system, so I can't really do that. I like fans and my freezer, air conditioning. You know, I don't get air conditioning. The second cheapest would be to go up a little bit, 24 volt, you know, get a bigger panel, a bigger pump. It'll be more efficient, it'll run better, you'll pump more water. It won't use as much electricity to pump your water. The next option would be 110. 110 is you know, close to 240. It's pretty efficient, but if you can afford it, if you can afford a well with a bigger pump, 240 pump, and the solar system to match, that's the way I would suggest to go, because it's far more efficient, far more less expensive. If you're going off grid anyway, you know, then I would try to get a small solar system instead of trying to get the pump running by this solar system and then putting another one for your house. So I would try to combine them all, just like I did, and you know, and keep everything in one area, because it is far less wire, far less expense on yours. So total in my life, I have been off grid close to 16 years. Not this time continuous. I did another time 9 years too. So close to that 16 years, and I have used a generator mostly to run a well. When solar first came out, you know, this is funny. Solar first came out, they only had like 65-watt panels, and so you didn't get. There was no way you were getting 240 to run a well. A generator is the most way that I have used to run a well. Now this way, it doesn't cost me any gas. It only costs me the solar system one time, and of course you're going to have to buy a inverter that is big enough to handle 240. So it needs to do 110 and 240. So I have the Snyder 2440, and I've had it for 6 years and it's running awesome. I highly recommend this inverter. It has a big old transformer. It's really, I hope this answered some questions for y'all about off-grid water and things you can do to have water on your homestead, your off-grid homestead. You know, it's not necessity to have a well. You can have a spring or a stream or whatever, you know, and you're just gonna have to filter it. But I prefer my well, and if it ever came down to it, then I couldn't get water, I can always dip it out of my well. So that's another option. So if I didn't have the power. Now, my system, the way I have it set up, if it's cloudy, rainy for 3 days, I better have water stored up, because I'm not going to get water those days. So I leave the pressure tank, and actually I'm going to set up several pressure tanks in a row. So when I do have you know, solar and it's working and I turn on water, it'll fill up several pressure tanks in a row, and that pressure tank will fill up with water, and as long as nobody turns on the valve, I have water for quite some time. Roughly, I want to get it to where I roughly have 40 to 60 gallons at any given moment, you know, that I can just turn on the faucet and get, and you know, with the pressure tank. So that's something else I'm working on, is getting pressure tanks. Y'all remember my solar hot water heater? I'm reinstalling that. I had to put a pop-off valve on it because it kept melting the PVC parts that I was using for it. So it's something that's working out, and that's up and coming too. Alright guys, I love you, and I'll catch you on the next video. Ani Ove Ocha means I love you in Hebrew. Later guys.